Chapter 866. As long as you believe. Su Ming looked at the changes in his body calmly, taking note of how he was turning into a bat as his body rotted away and disintegrated. He felt the wings rapidly growing out of his back, and with a whoosh, those wings unfolded behind him. Once they were stretched out, it showed up that they were hundreds of feet long. This gave Su Ming a strange, enchanting air. A bat. He smiled faintly. This caused him to remember the fire berserkers and the wings of the moon, which he saw when he was still young. The outward appearance is rather similar, but what is inside is completely different. Su Ming closed his eyes and did not bother about the changes in his body. He continued letting time pass by. He had no idea how much time had passed, but when he opened his eyes once again, his body had turned completely into that a big black bat. It felt incredibly real, so real that even Su Ming could not help but feel slightly shaken. The bat, just like the one I saw on the right palm of that malicious ghost when I was outside Dao Avenue Mountain. However, illusions of this level aren't strong enough to affect my intellect. Light flashed past Su Ming's eyes. He let out a cold harumph, and the sun, moon, and stars in his eyes spun rapidly. Immediately, he shuddered, and flesh as well as blood rapidly grew back on his body. From the distance, he looked to be rapidly changing from the bat into a human. The process lasted for only the span of a few breaths, and at the instant Su Ming stood up, he was no longer a bat, but had returned to his original body. Almost at the instant he did that, the ground, which Su Ming knew was really a gigantic palm, trembled, and he sensed something familiar. The 5 fingers of the palm were rapidly furling back with loud booming sounds, intending to crush his body inside the palm. Since it's an illusion, then I'm omnipotent in this place. A glint shone in Su Ming's eyes. He leaped up from the ground and charged towards the sky at full speed. As he rushed up, the world rumbled. The first finger charged towards Su Ming from above. That finger replaced the sky, and as it descended on him, it closed in on him instantly. Su Ming's expression remained calm, and when he lifted his right hand, a sun manifested in the air. When he extended his left hand, the moon appeared. As he moved forward, stars began to follow after him. He had used the illusion of stars, sun, and moon to its full extent. Boom! Su Ming pushed his right hand against the first finger that was descending on him. As loud booming sounds reverberated in the air, the finger was bounced thousands of feet away. Then, the second finger, which was right behind the first, came down on Su Ming. Boom! Boom! The sun and moon in Su Ming's hands rotated as they crashed into the second finger. It was bounced off after the clash, and Su Ming became even faster. As he flew up, the third and the fourth fingers swiftly came down on him. Stars, sun, moon. Su Ming swung his arms forward, and the sun in his left hand as well as the moon in his right hand accompanied by the stars behind him rushed out together to crash against the 2 gigantic fingers. Boom! 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 Loud bangs surged into the sky. As the weather changed, the 2 fingers trembled so violently that they froze for a moment. Su Ming rushed out swiftly. Just as he was about to fly out of the ground made of that palm, the thumb descended swiftly on him as if the sky had collapsed. The whistling sound was piercing to the ears. At the instant the thumb descended, the divine essence runic symbols immediately appeared around Su Ming's body. They gathered on him, turning his body into a sharp sword that thrust forward at the incoming thumb. Boom! 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 The world trembled. The sword pierced through the incoming thumb, but did not bring with it any blood. Su Ming rushed out of the gigantic palm. At the instant he did so, he felt as if he had broken free of some sort of shackles. The runic symbols around him disappeared, revealing his body, and he looked downwards. A smile appeared on Su Ming's face. He saw Dao Avenue Mountain, the 5 older members of the Yu family sitting cross-legged not too far away while meditating, and also Yu Chenhai. At that moment, Yu Chenhai's face was filled with excitement. As for the 5 older members of the Yu family, their faces were dark and sullen. Su Ming smiled faintly. His body shrank swiftly, but at the instant he descended, his expression changed. A gentle voice spoke slowly by his ears. All beings in the world possess life. These forms of life cannot live long. However, My race unraveled the secret of nature by coincidence. If we offer up lives, we can obtain eternal life. Those who clear the 3 gates of heavenly Tao can obtain eternal life. Thou hast cleared the first gate, and I shall bestow upon thee the art of vitality, allowing thee to take others' life to allow thyself to possess limitless life. The voice was coming from the mouth of the malicious ghost of Tao Avenue Mountain. When its word entered Su Ming's ears, they turned into a vortex in his heart. This vortex turned slowly, and a great amount of life force spread out faintly from within it. Su Ming was momentarily stunned. During the time he was stunned, he descended from the sky and landed on the ground. Yu Chen-hai immediately took a few steps forward and went before him. He bent his back to bow to him with an excited expression on his face, but just as he was about to speak after he bowed, his expression changed drastically. Senior Su, Yu Chen-hai's voice turned into a shrill scream of pain in the blink of an eye. He retreated swiftly, and as he moved back, his body began decaying rapidly. Within an instant, he had already rotted away until he was only bones. When Su Ming looked over, Yu Chen-hai's body completely shattered and turned into ashes. Wisps of life force surged rapidly into Su Ming's body. This life force contained years of life, and an indescribable feeling immediately rose in Su Ming's body. He could sense clearly that his life had become even more exuberant, but his expression changed. This was not what he wanted. In fact, he did not even want to kill Yu Chen-hai. How could this be? This is... Su Ming looked at Yu Chen-hai remains with a dumbfounded gaze. He spread his Atman outwards and found that he truly could not sense Yu Chen-hai's presence anymore. All of this was telling him that Yu Chen-hai had truly died. At the instant Su Ming was shocked by this scene, the expressions of the 5 older members of the Yu family in the distance changed drastically. They stood up swiftly and disbelief appeared on their faces, as if they did not expect that Su Ming would kill someone, and Yu Chen-hai, at that. How dare you kill a person of the Yu family? What nerve! As the expressions of the 5 people changed, 4 of them charged towards Su Ming quickly. The other person lifted his right arm and swung it towards the sky. Immediately, the sky rumbled, and a layer of blood-red clouds appeared. These clouds came out of nowhere. In the blink of an eye, they turned into gigantic letters that formed the word Jade in the sky. This was clearly a signal to notify the other members of the family. Chapter 867. The Sun and Moon Shines Together. Bang! Su Ming coughed up a mouthful of blood and removed his right fist from his chest. The punch he had just thrown was aimed against his own body. The intense pain coursing through his body cleared up his mind, but even if it did, everything around him was still around. The entire house of Yu family had become empty, and the area was filled with dead silence. Su Ming did not know how many people he had killed, and neither did he know how many people had their life force absorbed when they got close to him. He stood on the ground, just outside Tao Avenue Mountain. There was no one alive around him. The sky was gradually turning darker, but the hideous expression of the malicious ghost on Tao Avenue Mountain was incredibly clear. Su Ming's expression was filled with anguish. He could not tell whether everything around him was just an illusion and he was truly in this current condition or whether this was fake. As long as you believe it, it will exist. Yu Chen-hai's reminder echoed in Su Ming's ears. I've never believed in it, so could it be that all of this is true? As Su Ming mumbled this under his breath, his eyes sparkled. I'll know whether this is real or fake if I go to see other places in Black Ink Planet. Su Ming moved, becoming a long arc. But just as he was about to leave the grounds, which had become silent, his body trembled. Strong light then shone in his eyes. His breathing quickened. As he remained in the sky, he turned his head around slowly and stared fixedly at Tao Avenue Mountain. He remembered now. It was not true that he had not believed in this since the start to the end. At the instant he walked out of the palm and looked towards Yu Chen-hai as well as the 5 old men on the ground, he smiled. That might have seemed like a simple smile, but it showed that Su Ming believed what he saw at that instant. When he looked towards Yu Chen-hai and the others, he had thought that he had cleared the first gate. It was wrong. It was also at that moment that everything had began. It was precisely because he had believed during that moment that everything changed. Su Ming fell silent. After a long moment, he sucked in a deep breath and returned to the ground. When he sat down, a dark light appeared in his eyes, showing off his sullen mood. What a powerful, illusory art. No wonder it's rare for anyone to pass this test, even though the members of the Yu family know of the secrets in the art. Su Ming slowly closed his eyes. At the instant he did so, he lifted his right hand. The power of the art of time from the Abyss Builders was contained in his right hand, and he was ready to have his finger tap the center of his brows. Once that happened, the power of time would immediately spread out. Then, he could change the flow of time and allow this place to return to the time before the change happened. Let's see whether your race's illusory art is stronger or whether the Abyss Builder's divine ability is stronger. At the instant Su Ming was about to touch the center of his brows with his right index finger, his finger suddenly froze. He opened his eyes, and a bright sparkle shone within them. That's wrong. He remained silent for a long time before he put his finger down. If I use the Abyss Builder's art of time to fight against this, then it means that I believe in this illusion. It doesn't matter whether it's an illusion or whether it's the truth, as long as I believe it, it will exist. There are plenty of ways to understand this sentence. Su Ming whispered softly to himself. After a moment, he did not use any other method and instead chose to just sit quietly. Once he closed his eyes, he let his heart sink into a state of calmness. Shrill screams of pain gradually rang in his ears, but he did not open his eyes. After those screams of pain came countless pleas for mercy, but he did not open his eyes. Time passed, but Su Ming continued to sit with his eyes closed. No matter what he heard, his heart remained unshaken, and in the mid of this state of calmness, he did not think of anything. Su Ming. A faint voice said into his ears. It was Bai Ling's voice. Su Ming trembled. He looked as if he was about to open his eyes, but after a moment, he calmed down. Su Ming, you grew up. When the elder's voice reached his ears, he remained silent. Are you, my son? Are you the baby I held in my arms in the past? A faint woman's voice said with a tone that felt familiar yet unfamiliar at the same time to Su Ming. Su Ming, I'm Lei Chen. What are you doing, sitting here? Aren't we supposed to go to the mountain to pick herbs? This was Lei Chen's voice. My dear disciple, I'll let you see what is the sky and what is the earth, said Xianxia's voice. After that came second senior brother, eldest senior brother, Hu Zi, and all the other people from his memories. Their voices reached him one after another. Then, Su Ming opened his eyes. At the instant he did so, he saw many people, many sights, and many scenes from the past he could no longer see. He simply watched all of these silently, allowing himself to see it all as time continued to pass for his friends, family, and for these scenes, until an unknown amount of time had went by. As long as you believe it, it will exist. I don't believe it. Su Ming stood up and moved forward. The old friends he came into contact with all disintegrated, and the ground he moved past gradually faded in color. The land behind him tumbled about. The layers of earth rolled around like the layers of skin that fell off from a snake as it shed it. As they disseminated in succession, the ground was still the land that had the shape of a palm. His old friends, family, and the familiar sights were calling to him from behind him, but as Su Ming moved into the distance, they slowly turned into emptiness. However, even after he had already traveled very far, the sky remained as boundless as ever, and the ground was still in the shape of the palm. Su Ming's hair danced in the air. With the calmness in his heart and the relaxed manner in his gait, he continued walking forward. The sky gradually darkened, but in the mid of that darkness, a bright entrance appeared in front of him. He got closer to it, and when he walked out, the darkness was no longer around. He saw a bright piece of sky and the Yu family's square. He saw Yu Chen Hai and the 5 old men on the square, along with hundreds of other people. He also saw a middle-aged man standing right in front of the crowd. When the members of the Yu family on the entire square saw Su Ming, buzzing instantly rose into the air. It mattered little whether one considered the members of the family or the guests. It had been a long time since someone had managed to clear the first gate. Yet at that moment, they had witnessed a success. They also saw the bat from the palm that belonged to the malicious ghost that was Dao Avenue Mountain letting out a brilliant light at the instant Su Ming walked out. As it spread out in all directions, a hazy feeling was created. Fellow Daoist, congratulations on clearing the first gate of the 3 gates of heavenly Tao. The middle-aged third family elder in the crowd put on a smile, then wrapped his fist in his palm towards Su Ming as a greeting. Yu Chenhai was looking at Su Ming with an excited expression as he stood by third family elder's side. The hope and excitement in his eyes could not be described with words. He knew that the moment Su Ming had walked out of the first gate, his status in the family had risen by a huge margin. As the light from the bats spread out, more people from the Yu family rushed into the square from all directions. This was an incredibly important matter to the entire Yu family. When Su Ming walked out of Dao Avenue Mountain, he looked at the crowd beneath him. Then, with a calm expression, he wrapped his fist in his palm to greet the middle-aged man. He did not speak, because at the instant he walked out, the bat on the palm that belonged to the malicious ghost shone with a boundless light, and booming sounds instantly rose into the air above Dao Avenue Mountain. As they spread through the entire Yu family and shook the sky, distortions appeared in a large portion of the sky, and 2 gigantic mountains manifested in the area of the distorted sky. Instead of saying that they were 2 mountains, it would be more accurate to say that they were 2 huge statues. One of them was entirely black and had a ferocious expression on its face. It was holding loosely onto a red sun in its right hand. The other statue was shining with moonlight, and it had a more indifferent expression on its face. It looked like a woman, and on her right hand was a moon. It was shining with a gentle light that illuminated the ground. The sun and moon shine together. We finally saw the phenomenon of the sun and moon shining together. This is the second gate of the 3 gates of heavenly Tao, and it will only appear when the first gate has been cleared. Since ancient times, this gate has only appeared a few times. It's the first time I've seen it in my life. I feel truly fortunate to see it. The sun and moon shine together is even stronger than Dao Avenue Mountain. My dear guest, I wonder if you will be able to clear this gate. The buzzing of the crowd rose in the square. Once the mountains appeared, more members of the Yu family rushed towards the square from all directions. There were even a large number of those who had previously not been interested in this rushing over. There was even a long arc with an indescribably domineering air arriving from the distance, which then turned into an old man with crimson hair. He stopped beside third family elder. At the moment he arrived, all the members of the family around the area felt their hearts tremble, as if this man's arrival could make the ground shiver. Greetings, second family elder. All the members of the family besides the third family elder bowed respectfully towards the old man with crimson hair. Yu Chenhai's expression became even more excited as he, too, bowed down and worshipped the old elders. For the 5 old men who had previously deliberately made things difficult for Su Ming, they showed unceasing reverence on their faces as well, even if they were as white as sheets of paper. The old man with crimson hair ignored the members of the family around him worshipping him and looked at Su Ming standing outside Dao Avenue Mountain, then asked languidly with sparkling eyes, "Who brought this guest to our house?" "This young boy from Yu Mai's lineage brought him here." The third family elder smiled faintly by the side and cast a glance at the excited Yu Chenhai. The old man with crimson hair turned his head around and looked at Yu Chenhai. A faint smile appeared on his face. Once he nodded, he looked at Su Ming, who had his head lifted to look at the statues of the sun and moon shine together while standing in the sky. Then, he wrapped his fist in his palm in a greeting and spoke to Su Ming. "Fellow Daoist, since you cleared the first gate, then from now on, you are the guest of the Yu family. You can make any requests you want of us. We have always valued our guests highly in the Yu family. If you manage to clear the second gate, then you will become our guest elder, and you will have an incomparably respected status. You will be equal to the 2 of us." As he spoke, the 2 statues of the sun and moon shine together shone with a light that reached the ends of earth. A loud boom drowned out all other sounds. When it traveled in all directions, Su Ming lifted his foot and walked toward the sun and moon shine together. He could choose not to challenge the second gate, but Su Ming had his own thoughts. When he was in the first gate, he had sensed the strange power contained within it. That power was a strange force that he had never seen before. As long as he believed in it, it would exist. This was an illusion, but was also not an illusion. Su Ming wanted to understand how this power worked, and even wanted to be in control of this power to fuse it into his own illusion of the stars, sun, and moon. Once he managed to do so, his illusion of the stars, sun, and moon would become incredibly powerful. 1. Bai Ling, Su Ming's first love. 2. Lei Chen, Su Ming's best friend. Chapter 868. Believe in me and worship me. Su Ming's eyes shone with a glint. Under the gazes of all the people in the square beneath him, he walked towards the sun and moon shine together. When his body disappeared into the statue holding onto the sun, expectation immediately appeared on all the faces of the people in the square. It was especially so for Yu Chenhai. In fact, he even had a feeling like he was dreaming. He was afraid that all of this will show to not be true. Instinctively, he pinched his own arm. His breathing quickened, and a brilliant light shone in his eyes. Over the years, most of those who cleared the second gate needed nearly half a month to do so. I wonder if this person will succeed or fail, the old man with the crimson hair said softly. Second brother, are you still lamenting over your failure in the past? Big brother managed to clear the second gate, but you failed. The middle-aged man beside him smiled faintly. Let's not talk about the past. I do hope that he succeeds. The progenitor is going to be in his isolation for a long time, but he once said before he entered isolation that if anyone clears the third gate, he will come out. Too much time has passed now, and the development of the Yu family in Black Ink Planet has not been successful. The rise of the Lai Shan family has left us in a very passive position. The old man with the crimson hair shook his head. The level of cultivation of this cultivator named Su Ming is slightly unclear. Even I couldn't find any clues about it just now. But I do think that the second gate will be his limit. Even now, I still can't forget the experiences I had when I was going through the second gate, and I don't have the courage to challenge it again. I'm afraid of losing myself. As for the third gate, it's impossible. The middle-aged man sighed. Losing yourself. Ha! The old man with crimson hair sighed. As for Lai Shan family, if it wasn't for the progenitor entering isolation, how could that Lai Shan Xiu have been able to achieve hegemony? But there are plenty of rumors regarding this Lai Shan Xiu's origins. We've investigated him for many years, but we still haven't managed to find his real background. With his own power, he managed to build a family that can threaten our Yu family in just a little over 10,000 years. We can't underestimate this person. But I've heard that there's a high possibility that he came from Divine Essence Star Ocean. The old man with crimson hair's eyes sparkled when he spoke languidly. It's most likely true. The middle-aged man nodded. As these two people spoke to each other, Su Ming opened his eyes within the statues of the sun and moon shine together in the sky. Before he stepped into the statue, there had been piercing light shining into his eyes, which was why he had decided to close his eyes and walk over. At that moment, when he opened his eyes, he saw a vast ocean. The sounds of waves crashing against the surface of the ocean spread in all directions. Sea breeze blew against his face, and the smell of an ocean filled the air. Su Ming was standing on a cliff. When he looked around, he saw two statues in the ocean. Half of their bodies were submerged in the ocean, and the other half was standing above like mountains. These two statues were what Su Ming had seen previously, the sun and moon shine together. What do you want? A mighty voice rang out like thunderous booms. It echoed in the air and traveled into Su Ming's heart. That booming voice came from the mouth of the sun statue. Believe and worship the sun god and moon goddess, and you will obtain everything, a voice said from the moon statue's mouth. It was very gentle, and it could make a person relax because of it. Living creatures that can come into the second gate of heavenly Tao all possess extraordinary tenacity. Those who did not lose in the first gate can obtain the protection of the gate of Tao race. Tell us your desires, and we will let you obtain them. The voice from the sun statue resounded in the air once again, and a glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. Who are you? He asked calmly. We are gods. This time, the statues of the sun and moon spoke together. The fusion of the man's and the woman's voices formed a strange tone. As it echoed in the air, the dignified feeling they exuded became even stronger. The gate of Tao race worships the eternal god of time. I am the god of bright Sunday. The gate of Tao race worships the sun and moon, which are the source of power. I am the god of luminous moon. Su Ming remained silent. He looked at the two statues and did not speak for a long time. If you do not have any desires, then I will choose for you. I, God of bright sun, will bestow upon you endless power. The eyes of the sun god statue shone, and the sun he held in his right hand shone with a brilliant light. As that light spread out, Su Ming's body trembled, and a feeling of power erupted within him. His power increased exponentially with a bang at that moment, which was completely out of Su Ming's control. He was already nearing the peak of the middle stage of World Plane Realm. As his power increased, he reached a breakthrough instantly and reached the peak of the middle stage of World Plane Realm. I can make you even stronger. As the sun god's voice boomed, the power of Su Ming's clone, which practiced the art of swallowing hollow shadows whole, experienced an increase in power once more. Loud, booming sounds echoed in his body, and as veins popped up on his skin, the powerful aura spreading out from him showed that he had broken through the middle stage of World Plane Realm and reached the later stage of World Plane Realm. The feeling of power in the later stage of World Plane Realm felt incredibly real. He had a sense that it truly existed. At the instant his heart trembled, he looked at his palm, and a feeling that he could destroy the heavens with just one punch rose in him. You can become even stronger. As the sun god's voice rang out again, Su Ming's body trembled furiously. An incredibly terrifying presence erupted from him. As that presence erupted forth, Su Ming could not help but roar towards the sky. The rocks on the mountain around him shattered, and he floated up in the air. During that moment, his physical power had reached the peak of the later stage of World Plane Realm. In fact, I can make you even stronger. The sun god's flat voice echoed in the air again. With a bang, Su Ming attained completion of World Plane Realm from the peak of the later stage of World Plane Realm. With just one step, he could break through and head into a new realm. That was Lunar Kalpa Realm. Do you believe me? The sun god's voice had a tone to it that could cause people's hearts to beat in excitement. As it spread out, Su Ming's power erupted with a bang once again. This time, his hair moved without wind, and his body trembled even more furiously. He could sense his blood boiling in this physical body of his. As his blood boiled, wisps of blood smoke came out through his pores as his blood evaporated. They gathered above his head and turned into a bright moon. At the instant this happened, Su Ming let out a long howl that shook the sky and earth. The sky trembled, and the mighty strength within him that was difficult to describe with words brought with it a sense of the power of Lunar Kalpa Realm. In fact, he even had a strong feeling that as long as he believed in the statue's words, his power would move to this realm, and he would become a powerful warrior in Lunar Kalpa Realm in one go. You can become even stronger. The sun god's voice was still as indifferent as ever. It was filled with a mighty pressure as it spread out, and Su Ming's cultivation base erupted once more. This time, the blood moon around him grew larger and gradually moved from a crescent to being a full moon. When it became a full circle, it was no longer a moon, but a sun. This was Solar Kalpa. This is impossible. If he truly had this power, then it would be impossible for the Yu family to be in this state now. They would definitely have been able to conquer the entire Black Ink planet. Su Ming told himself that this was fake, but the feeling of the power in his body being real clearly showed him that all of this was real. All cultivators had one deadly desire. There might be many different varieties to this desire, but in the end, they all came down to two things. One of them was eternal life, and the other was power. Eternal life was what all manner of living desired, and powerful might was the dream of a cultivator. When any single one of these two were placed before a cultivator, it was incredibly rare for anyone to be able to resist it. Su Ming had resisted the temptation of eternal life, but even though he knew that this was not real, in the face of his level of cultivation being risen, all of this was not something that he could truly not believe with just a simple declaration that he did not believe in it. The cultivation system used by the Yu family is not suitable for me to help them raise their levels of cultivation. To them, I would not do so, but you are not the same. I can sense that your soul and everything about you does not belong in this galaxy. You belong to our region. You belong to our land. Worship me, and I will make you strong. I can even make you a master of fate, lives, and death. As the sun god's voice echoed in the air, Su Ming's cultivation base erupted once again. This time, the crimson sun above his head looked as if it had been lit in flames and turned into a red palm. This palm struck hard the top of Su Ming's skull. With it, a loud bang shot up in his mind. He sensed the presence of the master of fate, lives, and death. It was a power that exceeded his imagination. It was a maddening power that could stand up against the universe. Su Ming lowered his head and looked at his palm. In his eyes, his palm had turned blood red, and he had a strong feeling that as long as he lifted his hand, he could destroy all lives. Worship me, and from then on, you will become the master of fate, lives, and death. The temptation lying in the sun god's voice this time was even greater, and it echoed in Su Ming's mind non-stop. Su Ming remained silent. After a long time, a cold sneer suddenly appeared at the corners of his lips. He lifted his head and looked at the statue of the sun god. Is making me the master of fate, lives, and death your limit? At the instant Su Ming said these words, the statue of the sun god at the ocean suddenly looked as if it had come alive. Powerful light shone in its eyes, and a bright light that could make the world disappear suddenly erupted from the bright sun in its right hand. You are not satisfied. I can worship you, but the power of a master of fate, lives, and death isn't enough for me to worship you, Su Ming said calmly. Perhaps becoming a master of fate, lives, and death was the desire of many cultivators, but this was far from enough to Su Ming. With his experiences and knowledge, how could he worship this statue just to become a master of fate, lives, and death? The sun god fell silent. Then what if I give you this as well? The statue of the moon that had not spoken for a long time said in her gentle voice. As she spoke, a hazy illusion immediately appeared on the surface of the sea in front of Su Ming. Within it were all the people who had died in his memories. All of these people had their eyes closed and did not move. Believe in me and worship me, and I will resurrect them. Su Ming remained silent. After a long while, he shook his head. If I get sufficient power, I'll also be able to resurrect them. What you offer isn't enough to make me worship you. Chapter 869. The statue of the sun god shattered. Then what is it that you want? The sun god's voice might be sounding calm, but there was a slight difference to it. Su Ming sucked in a deep breath, and a barely noticeable glint shone in his eyes before he spoke slowly. Power that surpasses those that belong to the masters of fate, lives, and deaths. Very well. This time, the sun god and moon goddess spoke at the same time. At the instant their voices echoed in the air, the sun and moon in their hands shone. Su Ming's power erupted once more. He thought he could see the beginning of the universe, and an indescribable feeling rose in his heart. It was as if he could control the rising and the setting of the sun, as if he had reached the realm of the rise and fall of fate. Su Ming closed his eyes. At the moment he did so, within Western Ring Nebula, which was beyond Black Ink Planet, his Ikang clone sitting in the cosmos within the galaxy's foreign lands opened his eyes swiftly. Order and desire appeared in his eyes. 3 gates of heavenly Tao. So this is the 3 gates of heavenly Tao. They are formed by the sun and moon worshipped by the gate of Tao race. They possess the power of divine essence in their bodies. But this divine essence does not come from the 9 great divine essences, but from the outer world. Their power comes from faith and worship. As long as someone believes in them, they will exist. Outsiders cannot hope to stand up against their power, but since I have Ikang's clone, I can overcome it. I have to make sure that the divine essence illusory art cast on my clone that practices the art of swallowing hollow shadows whole is even stronger. Only then can I make my will descend into the 3 gates of heavenly Tao without getting harmed. As Su Ming's Ikang clone lifted his hands, the galaxy where he was instantly turned into a big purple tree. As the tree swayed, a brilliant, purple light shone in Su Ming's eyes. At the same time, as he continued closing his eyes in the world within the 2nd gate of Heavenly Gate, his power rose once more, and he moved from the rise and fall of fate to a new realm. That realm was the reincarnation of life. This realm already surpassed Su Ming's understanding. He did not know what sort of power he possessed. However, he had a feeling that with one thought, he could make this place go through a cycle of life and death. It was also at this moment that booming sounds rang out in Su Ming's body as the sun and moon shone together, and he could clearly feel that his level of cultivation had reached an even higher realm. This realm gave Su Ming a strong feeling that, with just one thought, he could destroy the universe. In fact, at this moment, as he looked at the piercing light from the sun and moon shining together, he found that the light had become much dimmer. He could even see that within the two statues, there were two people sitting cross-legged. They were a man and a woman. They were both sitting on the surface of the sea, and due to them sending out their power from their bodies, the statues were formed. The man had a handsome face, and the woman looked like a goddess. The two people's appearances were perfect, and not a single flaw could be found on them. However, this feeling of perfection made it seem like they only possessed human form and did not have souls. Su Ming also sensed the presence of divine essence within their bodies. Divine essence. A powerful light shone in Su Ming's eyes. At that moment, the voices from the statues of the sun and moon echoed in his mind once more. That is enough. This is the limit of how high we can raise your level of cultivation. However, it is a mere illusion. If you believe in us and worship us from the bottom of your heart, then the power will solidify, and you will become our apostle. With this sort of power, it will be enough for you to stand at the peak of the world outside, and it will also be enough for you to be able to do all the things that you could not do before. If you believe in us and worship us, then you will be able to obtain it. Believe in us and worship us, and you will obtain all of these. If you don't, then your power will be taken back. As the two of them spoke, Su Ming's level of cultivation instantly started plunging down, as if the source that had been supporting him to become so strong was being taken away. The two of you are the ones who will worship me. A cold sneer suddenly appeared on Su Ming's lips. You foolish ant, you overestimate yourself. Since you gave up on our goodwill, then, The moment Su Ming spoke, the sun god's majestic voice echoed in the air with a loud bang, but before he could finish speaking, his words froze for a moment, shock seeping into his voice. What caused this shock was Su Ming swinging his arms outwards. The world behind him immediately distorted, and a gigantic purple tree appeared. As that purple tree manifested in the air, a sinister and cold presence filled with madness and a domineering air erupted forth with a bang in all directions. As the presence burst forth, everything in the world was dyed in purple. Kang. When that purple tree appeared, two cries of surprise rang out at the same time from the two statues. Those voices were filled with shock and disbelief. Damn it, during the era when all lives died, Kang was still recovering. Why is it here? By then, the power that had gathered on Su Ming's body dissipated like a receding tide. As it swiftly disappeared, Su Ming lifted his right hand and seized the air before him quickly. Come back. As he spoke with a cold harumph, the purple tree that occupied the world immediately started swaying. Countless branches started stretching ferociously outwards, turning into a huge hand in midair, and with a loud bang, it seized the statue of the sun god. The world rumbled, and a powerful light spread out from the statue of the sun god. As it came into contact with the hand of Su Ming's Kang clone, loud booms reverberated in the air, and the statue started showing signs of cracking. At that moment, right before the eyes of the hundreds of people standing on Yu Family Square, which was located right beyond the second gate of Heavenly Tao, a huge crack appeared on the statue of the sun god in the sky. This was something that had never happened before. All the people who had challenged the second gate previously had never brought something like this about. While in shock, the crowd started buzzing with noise. What's going on? How could the statue of the sun god shatter? What's going on with the guest that is challenging the second gate of Heavenly Tao? How did he make the statue of the sun god shatter? While everyone was in shock, the old man with crimson hair and the middle-aged man had drastic changes to their expressions. Even with their levels of cultivation, they were shocked by the sight, and disbelief appeared on their faces. The statue of the sun god is shattering. This is something that had never happened before. Just what did this Su Ming do in the second gate of Heavenly Tao? I can sense anger and fear from the shattering statue. The middle-aged man beside him sucked in a sharp breath. It was at that moment that a loud, booming sound rang out, and in the mid of the crowd's shock, the statue of the sun god, shattered completely. As it did so, a purple aura spread out with a bang. The sinister air spreading out from that purple aura was filled with madness and a domineering will. Within an instant, it shook everyone's heart. Members of the Yu family, move back. An ancient voice spoke suddenly from beneath the ground that belonged to the Yu family. Once it did so, a mighty power erupted from the ground and swept up all the members of the Yu family backwards. Then, an old man with a hunched back emerged from within the ground. At the moment he appeared, the old man with crimson hair and the middle-aged man, who were the only ones who were not pushed back, wrapped their fists in their palms and bowed towards the old man. Big brother. Chapter 870, The Era Where All Lives Died. The statue of the sun god shattered with a bang. This was something that had never happened before in Yu family's history. Most of the members of the family and the guests were gentle in their actions as they challenged the gates, but this time, there was an incredibly unyielding and strong will contained by the challenger. Booming sounds surged into the sky. An endless amount of shards was swept in all directions in the sky, as if the sky had shattered. With a powerful force, the shards swept through the sky, and wherever they went, the weather would change. In fact, quite a large number of towers in the Yu family shattered and collapsed as they came into contact with the shards that came towards them with loud booms. These booms echoed in the air and shook the area within tens of thousands of lees. For a moment, the members of the Yu family were filled with apprehension. Some of those who had not arrived to the square yet sped up and rushed towards the place with their expressions changed drastically. It looked as if a strong enemy had invaded the Yu family, and a piercing screech even spread out within. Screens of light appeared out of thin air, and that was the sign that Yu family's great protection rune had been activated. As an endless amount of figures charged towards the square, nearly 10,000 figures soon appeared around Dao Avenue Mountain. These were the members of the Yu family that had stayed behind instead of venturing out to Divine Essence Star Ocean. If anyone cast their gaze towards them, they would find that there were quite a large number of people still rushing over to the place. Yu Qianhai stared blankly at the shattered statue of the sun god in the sky. He seemed to have forgotten how to breathe, and his mind was completely blank. His expression was changing swiftly, and even he did not know what was in his mind at that moment. His family members around him had shocked expressions on their faces. As more people arrived and Yu Qianhai saw 4 people whose ages were similar to his and whose levels of cultivation were also the same as his appearing in the crowd from different directions, a chilling glare alighted in his eyes, and a dark expression appeared on his face. These 4 people were 4 out of the 5 competitors in the auction. Only if he showed outstanding results against these people would he be valued highly by his family. The appearance of these 4 people immediately made Yu Qianhai's heart stable. His originally collapsing mind calmed down. He knew that no matter what, he had to stand by Su Ming's side. The more powerful Su Ming was, the more advantageous it would be for Yu Qianhai. This was a chance given by heaven itself for him to rise in power in his family. At the same time the statue of the sun god in Yu family's square shattered and the entire Yu family was shaken. The gigantic hand that was formed by the purple Yikang tree behind Su Ming was lifted up from the collapsing statue of the sun god in the second gate of heavenly Dao. He stood in midair, and his hair was moving without wind. A strange light shone in his eyes. Then, without pausing even in the slightest, he lifted his left hand and seized the air in the direction of the statue of the moon goddess. Shatter! Su Ming let out a cold shout, and immediately, the purple Yikang tree behind him started swaying intensely. The tree crown rocked slightly, and a violent gust of wind charged forward. At the instant Su Ming lifted his left hand, the endless branches grew longer as they twisted about. In the span of a breath, they turned into a gigantic hand that shot past Su Ming to seize the statue of the moon goddess. The statue of the sun god was still shattering, while the statue of the moon goddess was letting out a gentle light. However, while the light seemed gentle, if anyone looked at it for a long period of time, that light would cause them to lose their sight without their realization. A low shout came from the statue of the moon goddess. As she lifted her head, the bright moon in her hand flew into the sky on its own to crash forcefully into the incoming Yikang hand. Just that simple crash stirred up booming sounds that caused the ocean to roar, the seawater to raise 100,000 feet into the air, so its curtain would cover the surface of the ocean and the world within an instant. As everything turned obscure, booming sounds surged into the sky. Su Ming's Yikang hand shuddered and was bounced thousands of feet away. A glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. As he let out a cold harumph, the Yikang tree behind him roared. In the blink of an eye, the Yikang hand that was bounced off changed from the form of trying to seize something to the form of going to slap something. At the same time, the hand of the master of fate, lives, and death appeared in Su Ming's left eye. With this epiphany, his clone that practiced the art of swallowing hollow shadows whole might only be able to make the hand gain form, but if his Yikang clone executed it, the hand would possess mighty power. Almost at the instant the shadow of the palm shone in Su Ming's left eye, the Yikang hand in the sky swiftly struck the statue of the moon goddess hidden behind the curtain of water. You are merely two gods with incomplete souls. How dare you manipulate my level of cultivation? You! What right do you have to give me power? What right do you have to make me believe in you and worship you? Can you pay the price of making me do those things? Su Ming was in the air. As his voice echoed like thunder, his Yikang hand fell downwards with a bang. No one could tell if they saw from the distance whether Su Ming's Yikang hand had pushed down on the 100,000 feet curtain of water or had pushed down on the statue of the moon goddess hidden behind the curtain of water. Boom! 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 Loud booming sounds surged into the sky continuously as if they wanted to cause the world to collapse from the vibrations. Cracking sounds reverberated in the air. That was the sound of the statue of the moon goddess shattering. Under the power of Yikang, which now belonged to Su Ming, the sun god and moon goddess, who were clearly incomplete, were no opponent. Even if they might have been at the same level as Sui Chenzi in the past, the life form that was Yikang was an existence that surpassed these two statues, and if they were to compare based on the levels of life forms, then Su Ming, who had possessed Yikang, surpassed Yikang's existence. He had nothing to be concerned about in this battle. The sun god and moon goddess who possessed divine essence from other worlds wanted to make Su Ming believe in them and worship them, wanted to turn him into their apostle that listened to their commands. Perhaps they had some other motives, but it was just as Su Ming had said, they could not pay the price of making him believe and worship them. Since they could not pay the price and still attempted to do so, the only result of this could be Su Ming snatching their divine essence and them become a way for him to become more powerful. Booming sounds that were deafening to the ears rang in the air, and the breathing of the near 10,000 people from the Yu family quickened, their eyes going wide as they stood near the second gate of heavenly Tao. From there, they saw clearly that once the statue of the sun god shattered, the statue of the moon goddess by its side also started cracking. Huge cracks went down its side, and wisps of purple fog that brought with it a sinister intent as well as a ghastly presence spread out from within the cracks to occupy most of the sky. The people found themselves staring at a purple sky when they lifted their heads to look at it. The malicious feeling from the purple hue also left a deep impression within the hearts of those who saw it with their own eyes. Most of them suddenly found the purple color to be strange and bewitching. Boom! The statue of the moon goddess shattered. The cracks on her face made it seem as if they were tears. At the instant this scene shocked all of the people who saw it, the cracks continued expanding, and the statue of the moon goddess shattered. Of the three gates of heavenly Tao, the second gate, the sun and moon shine together, disappeared from the face of the earth, removed from existence. The three grand family elders who were closest to Tao Avenue Mountain had differing expressions compared to the other members of their family. The old man who had appeared from the ground just now had an incredibly grim expression on his face, while the other two kept their gazes fixed on the spot where the statues once were. This purple hue is making me want to tremble and worship it. I can even sense a power that seems to be able to destroy the universe from that purple hue. Just what level of cultivation does the person our kin has brought back possess? The three of them looked at each other, and they could see the shock in the eyes of one another. Once the statues of the sun god and moon goddess shattered completely, the 100,000 feet curtain of water gradually fell down within the second gate of heavenly Tao. The booming sounds were then reduced to lingering echoes. Su Ming stood in midair with a calm expression. Before him, the statues of the sun god and moon goddess had already collapsed into the sea. As the shards from their bodies scattered everywhere, the indescribably handsome man and the flawlessly beautiful woman appeared from within the collapsed statues. The two of them stood on the surface of the sea and glared at Su Ming with endless hatred on their faces. Ads by Pub Future ads. During the era when all lives died, we were all recovering. This is where all of our divine clones lie. You went against the promises we made in the past, and you will receive the punishment of the Spirit King. Get out of here. Divine Essence Star Ocean is not a place where those of you from the 9 great universes can come. The Pact of the Spirit King is still around, and if you devour our divine essences, the Spirit Kings is going to descend in this place, and you will die for sure. Su Ming's expression remained as calm as usual, but his heart was shaken slightly. Once he possessed Yikang and turned it into his clone, he had obtained its jumbled memories, and time was needed for him to slowly fuse with those memories. Right then, there were plenty of things that he did not know of, such as the Spirit King and the promise they spoke of. He had absolutely no memory of it. You don't know Spirit King's pact. Could it be that you're a cultivator? You possessed Yikang. With some unknown method, the man and woman had managed to read Su Ming's mind, and at that moment, their expressions changed drastically. Su Ming let out a cold harumph and did not speak. These two people's bodies were formed completely by divine essence. Su Ming could sense a strong desire from his Yikang clone. If he could devour these two people, then his Yikang clone would become much stronger. Su Ming did not know what that Spirit King's pact was, and neither would he be bothered by it. Almost the instant the two people's expressions changed, the Yikang tree behind Su Ming shook with a bang, and as it grew endlessly larger, it replaced the entire world. A gap was revealed on the Yikang tree's trunk, and it looked like a gigantic mouth. It sucked in a sharp breath in the direction of the two people in the sea. With it, the sky, earth, and naturally the sea as well, instantly shrank to be sucked into Yikang's mouth all at once. Despair showed up on the man and woman's faces in the mid of their anguish. They could not hope to fight back. Without their statues, they were just a bundle of divine essence. The world turned purple in an instant. After a moment, everything vanished, and even the tree that was formed by Su Ming's Yikang clone disappeared without a trace. Two bundles of divine essence appeared before Su Ming's Yikang clone in Western Ring Nebula's foreign land. One of them was in the shape of a moon, and the other in the shape of the sun. They surrounded the Yikang clone, and as they slowly shrank, Su Ming's Yikang clone lifted his head and roared before swiftly becoming stronger. At the same time, Su Ming's clone that practiced the art of swallowing hollow shadows whole let out a roar towards the sky in the broken world. He might already be near the peak of the middle stage of World Plane Realm, but at that moment, as he roared, his level of cultivation showed clear signs of rising. Clone that practices the art of swallowing hollow shadows whole, execute the art and bring forth the 6th disaster.